connecting you to people, knowledge, and business development in the line striping industry. This is Stripe It Like It's Hot. Brought to you by Blacktop Banter with your host, Cam Roberts.
What's happening, Pod Squad? Welcome in to another episode of Stripe It Like It's Hot. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We got a good one. We always do have a good one, but today's a really good one. Like really good. I'm gonna start by paying you a compliment. Can I do that?
If you have to, man. I didn't expect that, but yes.
No, I have to. So with us is Kevin Gray. Kevin Gray, we're going to get into all sorts of good stuff here about where you come from, what you're doing now, and most importantly, I feel like is why you're doing it. But to me, that's actually the compliment for you is the why you're doing it. Like, I think it's pretty rare where you see someone who is so committed to helping other people, like leading them, teaching them, mentoring them, motivating them. And as your very podcast is called, the Rock Bottom Podcast, sometimes we have moments in our life where it's just, that's probably the last thing we want to do is help other people. Or at the very least, I know for myself, and this is where the compliment comes, when times are tough for me, the last thing I feel like doing is trying to go, I don't feel like I'm qualified to go help somebody else. It takes a special person who, when stuff is going south, they still show up and they help other people. And I don't think I could think of anyone else who's a greater example of that than you, man. You show up like you're a rock star. Thank you for being here, man.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for that compliment. Like that hit home, man. That got me. We hadn't even started this thing, and you got the emotions already going inside of me. So that let me just say this to you. Let me pay you a compliment. I've been around this industry for a decade and a half now, and there's a lot of great people in our industry. Don't get me wrong. But when I think about and I'm talking handful, when I'm talking about the handful of people that I respect, that I admire, that I watched along their journey, that I watch move the needle, that I watch give back to the industry and impact it in a positive light, you're one of those people, Cam. Like no doubt about it, like no hesitation. If people were to ask me a question along those lines, that your name would get brought up. So pleasure is mine being here, man.
Well, thank you. Well, bad news for you. We're not here to talk about me though. Because I think
next time we'll get you on the Rock Bottom Podcast. How about that?
Bro, you send the calendar invite. I'm there.
My man.
So I don't even know where
part two, right?
Yeah, probably. You're one of the people I have a feeling I could sit here for hours. Well, I know I could, but I don't know. I want to start with the why for you. I know you've talked about it before, but like, why paving? Where tell me why paving? Where did this come from?
Man, I don't even know where it came from, honestly. And paving, you talk to people in the industry a lot. You hear and you get this a lot. People are like, I don't know how I ended up in this thing, in this industry, laying blacktop, maintaining parking lots, seal coating parking lots, striping parking lots, streets, roads, driveways, pickleball courts. That was a fun one. They're like, there's just something about it. Once it gets in your blood, it gets in blood. Like, it's just one of those things. And I don't know if it's the adrenaline. I don't know if it's the people. For me, it's the people. For me, it's the people in this industry. And the why for me with the paving industry, I'll tell you the why. And it goes back to the people also. My dad, so when I'm growing up, my dad, mostly for what I can remember of his career, he was a middle school math teacher and basketball coach early on in his career. Amazing mathematician, by the way. Like, if it weren't for my dad, I don't know if I would have gotten through, through algebra, let alone AP calculus by the time I was, junior, senior in high school. But he was involved with the heavy highway industry for most of his career. He actually retired from it. So he worked for a couple larger paving contractors that I can recall growing up. He worked for a company called Kentucky Guardrail, which was on kind of the guardrail and the safety side of road construction. They actually went out with him and a partner, actually started a small company along those lines down in London, Kentucky. I lived down in that southeastern part of the state for a few years while he went out and tried to do his own thing for a few years, and then ended up on the association side of it, which coincidentally I'm kind of on now. Kind of cool seeing that come full circle. But he was the assistant executive director for the Kentucky Association of Highway Contractors, and then after that he went on for, I guess it was the last 15 or so years of his career until he retired. I think 4 years now. He was the executive director of the Kentucky Crushed Stone Association. But what I remember, and it was interesting when this opportunity to buy what was known as Asphalt Driveways Company, which later on became ADC Paving. It was interesting that kind of was presented to my wife at the time and I. It was her family's very small residential paving business. I was like, man, that's what I've been around for watched my dad be around for a lot of years. And what intrigued me, because I always kind of had an entrepreneurial spirit. I always thought maybe I would do my own thing. Didn't have a clue how I was going to get there. Didn't know how to start. Didn't ever say, hey, I'm going to go do this and I'm going to become great at that. It was interesting that opportunity came about, but what I remembered about it was how I was treated by the people in the highway industry, the heavy highway industry, my dad's peers, the guys my dad was around, because I would go to meetings with him. I would go on conventions, in the winters with him, similar to what we do at TCS with our inner circle retreats and stuff. So I would be around, the business owners, the leaders, the management people, the visionaries of these much larger, heavy highway size and scale companies. And I just remember the camaraderie. I remember the way they would make me feel, even as a small boy, all the way up until I was, late at it, high school years, early college years. I think I even went on a couple of those trips with them. And just something just felt right with me when I was around those people. I always respected them. I always admired them. I found them fascinating. Like, when I looked up to my dad and his peers, it was like, man, I wish I could be something like that one day. And I don't know what that was, but I do remember how they made me feel. And that always stuck with me. So when this opportunity came around with Asphalt Driveways Company, I was all in. I was ready to go. So that's kind of how that spirit, I guess, if that's what you want to call it, was born inside of me, to get involved with this industry, to take a leap of faith as an entrepreneur into this paving and pavement maintenance industry. And it's like a lot of people I've talked to that are in this industry, whether they've been in it their whole life or whether they've started a company of their own or whatever, they're like, there's just something about it. Once it gets in your blood, it sticks with you. And I think a lot of that I can correlate back to kind of some of the teams I was involved with, even going back to grade school, recreation, baseball, football, some of my wrestling teams I was involved with in high school and college. Like, there's just something about being out there with your group, with your guys and gals, whatever it may look like, about putting in the work, sweating it. I mean, it's, everybody in this industry knows that it's right up there. I think it's ranked in the top 3 hardest jobs in America, or, in the world, whatever they say it is. But there's just something about going through those battles with people and getting through the summer months and accomplishing things you didn't think were possible, getting to the end of a hard project and saying, man, we really knocked that out of the park. And man, our customer's really happy. And man, we really helped each other get, like, if the guy next to you is kind of struggling, you got to carry the weight, or vice versa. Like, there's just that sense of camaraderie and teamwork that I don't know that you can find many other places.
Yeah, I totally get what you mean. I mean, we're not even directly in paving, but I know what you're talking about because I see it. You can feel it when you look at other companies, man. You can see how they do things.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of paving companies out there, Kevin. Lots, especially like small to small mid. Like you said, with ADC at the start, it was driveways. There's so many.
Yep.
And I would probably say, I don't know how you feel about it. I would say most of the owners of those companies or the people who are involved in managing those companies probably have the same entrepreneurial ideas, but they don't ever get there.
Mm.
How did you pull this off? Because not only did you, grow the company, grow the business,
Yeah.
you're well known in the industry now. I mean, my goodness, I didn't even introduce you properly at the start of like all the things that you're involved with Top Contractor School. But I mean, you've taken it to the max, man. How did you do that?
Um, I I think, well, part of it was I got hooked up with the right marketing guy. That helped. And by the way, he wasn't always the right market. What was awesome about that was he didn't have a clue what he was doing when we started. He took a leap of faith on me. I took a leap of faith on him. He launched his own marketing business, and we kind of figured it out together. And I think that was kind of some of the beauty of it, because and we had a friendship prior to that. So, I paid him a fee. He did his work, but I kind of helped. I got to mentor him along his process a little bit too. I got to watch him grow. I got to watch him evolve. And those that were watching kind of saw that happen throughout the course of our social media history too. But I think what made that presence, and I think that's what you're talking about, well known or notable, was that some people say this is a good trait of mine. Some people say this could be a weakness of mine. It's like I'm authentically me. I'm vulnerable. I trust people almost right out of the. It's almost like I'll trust you until you prove me a reason not to. I'm authentic. We decided from the jump, like, we're going to have this authentic, transparent, vulnerable, real. And it's not just going to be the Kevin show. It's going to be everybody involved with the business. And we're going to get our customers and whatever our operations look like, whatever our impact is out in our community. We're going to show all that to the world, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. Like, and we just were real from the jump. And I don't know if there's anything special to that other than the approach, because, of course we all want, or we think our social media or the way we market ourselves or the way we present ourselves to the world has got to be, just this highlight reel all the time. But like, that really doesn't touch people. That really doesn't connect people to people. That just is basically a way of bragging or showing off. It really doesn't let your customers, and I'll tell you what, the biggest thing it helped us do was attract employees, attract people that aligned with our mission, values, vision.
Absolutely.
That ended up finding us, so we weren't even having to necessarily recruit employees all the time. They were kind of finding us. Brian's done a great job of that at the Pavement Group. Like, people talk about his business or any great business. It's just that vibrant feel you get, like, I want to go be a part of that. What are they up to? Something's different over there, right? And it's interesting, and people get curious. So I think there's an element of that. And you ask how I did it, or what made it good, or what allowed us to get really good. And I think what you're asking is like, how did our culture become so good? And look, I own that company, I owned it for a little over 10 years. I was involved with it for almost 13. And there's probably a third of that in there where I wasn't a very good leader for whatever reason. Whether it was in the beginning, there was a period in the middle, and there was a period right here at the end, man.
Wow.
Like, where I sucked. But in the times that I was good, things were good. The culture was good. The growth was good. The environment was good. The camaraderie was good, because it all starts, we talk about culture, we talk about vision, we talk about being together. It all starts at the top. And I don't care how big or small your operations may be. If your people don't believe in the leader, or they don't believe in the leadership, or they don't trust that that leader is operating by a code of values, and I'm not necessarily always talking moral, but just they gotta be in alignment with your values, ethics, the way you act, the way you treat people, the way you, and I think that's a big piece of it. Is like, I talked about it when you asked me what got me into this industry. It was like, I can remember as a small boy how the guys, the men and women I would meet at my dad's events would make me feel. So I think what made us good was because whether it was the lowest paid shovel man, or my highest paid equipment operator, or my salesperson that was making $250,000 a year, or my vice president of operations that had paid 10 years of dues, like, no matter who I was engaging with, they're all getting the same conversation. They're all getting the same interaction, engagement. They're getting my attention no matter what. And I think you've got to be willing. I don't know if some leaders, they get on a box and they think they're better than anybody within their organizations. But if you're you're just missing if you're doing that. Like, you hear it a lot. Like, if you're the CEO, you got to be willing to be the janitor too. Well, you got to be willing to have those janitor level conversations with some people if that's what they need to have as well. Like, and I think that's part of it, is adaptability, to get on people's levels no matter what, meet them where they are, whether meeting them where they're at in their day, where they're at in their life, where they're at in their journey, and just being able to be relatable and shutting I'm talking an awful lot right now, but it's like being able to shut the hell up and listen to people and not be waiting to say the next thing. Like, oh, I hear what you're saying, but I can't wait to respond. Like, look people in the eyes and let them know that you're really paying attention to them. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people in this industry haven't been paid much attention their whole life. And there's a reason some of them end up in our industry, especially on the lower side of the labor scale. But that doesn't mean those people can't become great operators. That doesn't mean they can't become great leaders. Some of my best leaders within my organization started at the bottom and worked their way up and started believing in a different kind of life, or a different way of living, or, oh my God, things are possible. There's no reason I can't do that.
Yeah, we've had the same, 100%.
Isn't that amazing to watch?
It's what makes it worth it, man.
That's what makes it worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, it can't be about money. That's something I've been pretty candid with our team too, is, we're not ginormous, not a huge company, but we're growing. We're still growing. And I've been pretty candid with them and saying, look, had I kept this company smaller back in 2020 and 2021, and maybe just me and a few guys, like, I would be taking home more money, like myself.
100%. Yeah.
There wouldn't be nowhere near the level of expense we need to, but that's not what it's about. That's when you get to see people elevate, as I'm sure you have in your career, that's what makes it worth it. And
that's what makes it worth it.
Well, that's one of the first times. I don't remember the first actual time I remember seeing you online, but I think I know. Do you remember when you and Brian and Judd hopped on and gave a free webinar? It was right when COVID broke out, and poor Judd was stuck in Anguilla there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You three guys, you were talking about, just all the things that were going through people's minds at the start of COVID. And you guys were like, hey, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
That's the first time I remember really, really listening to you, and the leadership thing just permeates in you. It's who you are. It's what you do now, right? Even involved with your new position in Top Contractor School, which remind me, it's not chairman. What's the position title?
So it's executive director.
That's right. Thank you. Yeah. That whole program of Top Contractor School is designed to help leaders become better leaders. So if you're going to be the executive director,
right,
you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
How did you get this, man? Like, what's the secret sauce? Because people out there listening, Kevin, want to become better leaders in their companies.
Dude, it's just for me, it comes down, and I'll go back to what I figured out maybe 5 months ago or so when my parents came and when I was sitting in a treatment center and my mom and dad came and visited me. Remind me to go back to that.
Oh, we will.
Because, but man, I don't know if it was born inside of me through the sport of wrestling. I was so fortunate enough to have, I have 2 Hall of Fame coaches that led our high school wrestling team the years I was there. Now they were there for almost a quarter of a century, the 2 of them. We won 3 state titles the 4 years I was in high school. And something happened in those years that just, and maybe it was inside of me already, but just really tapped into my diligence. That's a word I'll never. One of my wrestling coaches who was more on the technical side. So one of them was more the technician. The other one was actually like the PE coach, teacher at the high school, and kind of kept us all in line. So we had one was more kind of the disciplinarian, one was more the technician, and the secret sauce they had it obviously worked. I think they won something like 12 or 13 state titles in their 25-year career. It was insane. But they figured out how to get guys not to quit, no matter what. So I think that's part of it for me is and I think part of it is something I was just innately born with, thank God. But it's diligence, and that's a definition one of my wrestling coaches used to talk about all the time. It's a constant, steady effort to achieve one's goals. You just have got to have that undying willingness to go on no matter what. And that's why I never got freaked out in business. That's why I never let the worst of times or the toughest of situations or the financial stresses. Look, I did this almost 15 years. I bet I spent half of that going to bed at night wondering how I'm going to make payroll the next week. Straight up. But what are you going to, you show up and you exude that nervousness or that worry or that anxiety or that stress. Am I saying I didn't show up stressed out to work some days? I absolutely did. But you're the person everyone is looking to say everything's fine. The ship's on course. Are we in some rough seas right now? Hell yeah, we are. It's obvious. You see the fucking waves coming over the boat? Everybody knows it's going on, but we're going to get through this. You see, if we can just get right over that horizon, we can get 300 more yards. We're good. We're into daylight. We're into the sunlight. We're into smooth seas. So it's just being able to keep forecasting that vision and inspiring through hope. And by the way, you can't just talk about it. You got to be about it. You got to act it out. When the people need the leader the most, that's when you've got to step up the most, no matter what. And I'm not saying stuff your feelings down, stuff your emotion. And that's what got me in trouble the last year and a half or so. I was going through some things on the personal side, divorce and some other, just some other things that were unique to me that I hadn't ever been faced with running a business. And I didn't handle all those things the way I should have. And I stopped taking care of myself, which led to some other things to kind of fuel my inspiration, if you will, and kind of got off course. But you gotta be willing to row the boat yourself first, no matter what. And when your people start seeing that over and over and over again, they're going to believe no matter what. They're going to buy in no matter what, because I've been there. I've done that time and time. You can't run a dictatorship. You can't run a business from the soapbox with your words. You got to run them with your actions. And I'm not saying you got to be hands-on and doing all the hard work and all that all the time, because at the end of the day, a growing business needs a visionary. They need someone planning. They need someone being strategic. They need someone working on the business instead of working in the business. So you can't do that all the time. And that's where I messed up some of my balance through explosive growth, was getting too much involved with the day-to-day and not enough on what's happening the next day or the next month or the next year. But I don't know. My mom, going back when my mom and dad came and saw me about 5.5 months ago, and we were talking about, and this is when I was in treatment. I realized, I was like, I got to get away from that business because I don't know how to run it with boundaries. I don't know how to not be involved in the day to day and doing things that don't allow me to take care of myself first, because that's what got me into the mess. And we were just talking. I said, maybe I want to do something on the, maybe I want to do something on the recovery side. Maybe I want to be a speaker. Maybe I want to go and talk in prisons, talking whatever recovery communities. I was like, I'm just kind of like, what am I going to do next? And I want to do something that's meaningful, purposeful, fulfilling. And my mom reminded me, she said, ever since you were a little boy, and I grew up, my mom was a pretty devout Catholic. So I grew up in the Catholic Church. I was an altar boy and all the things involved with that growing up. And my mom said, and I didn't remember a lot of it because she's going back like first, second, third grade. She's like, the priest would always ask you to do the readings at mass as a 7, 6, 7, 8-year-old, 9-year-old. And she was like, you, anytime you were involved with like one of the performing arts productions at school or in the community, like you always got the lead role. And it's like, she said, you have a gift for speaking in front of you. You have a gift that is captivating. And I have a hard time seeing it myself. Like I'm my own worst critic. Like, trust me, dude. Like, so when people tell me these things, I'm like, I don't know what it is, man. I just try and show up and do the next right thing and lead by example. And that's when I'm on my game. I am. If I'm not on my game, I'm serving myself, and I'm being self-centered and driven by self-will and my wants and needs and desires. And then I'm not helping. Then I'm a terrible leader.
I think that's true. I think that's true of everyone, though, right? Like anyone who's focused on themselves, you immediately lose the impact that you make with other people, whether that's, the context of this podcast and business, like your people, your employees, right?
Yeah.
Well, tell me about the new podcast. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory what it's called, Kevin. It's called the Rock Bottom Podcast. And why are you laughing? Why are you laughing, bro?
Because it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, no, I get the idea behind it, but what's spurring this idea? Like I've listened to it, and you get right into it, man. Like you don't really hold back. Another thing I appreciate about you, I'm kind of a chicken sometimes. So you go for it.
What I've realized is, I guess I'm being selfish with it, if I'm being honest, Cam, because it's helping me. I feel like it's helping me a lot more than it's helping anybody else that might be watching, because it allows me a platform every day to sit down. And I'll tell you what it is. I'll tell you why I enjoyed the paving industry and being a leader. And you talked about being able to watch some of these people grow and their lives change. And like when I was able to, see kids literally move out of the trailer park and move into homes, or family, a guy and his wife and his kid, they'd be able to take their kids to Disney World, like for the first time ever, because he had a decent job and had his shit together, and like life got to be pretty decent. I'm talking about people with like 7th grade educations that didn't know another way. They didn't know how to get out of the trailer park. But yeah, all I can focus on today, the things that are driving me today, are being useful to other people, helping my fellow man, I reference man a lot because it's not, when I say help my fellow man, I'm talking about all of humanity. I'm not just talking about men.
Yeah.
I'm talking about men, women, whoever might even be listening. Like, because what I've found out is the more that I am useful to other people, the more that I can be of some benefit or impact, or have some impact for other people, the better that makes me feel. So selfishly, I'm doing it for myself. Right?
Yeah, but you can't put oxygen masks on other people on the airplane if yours ain't on first, right?
That's right. That's right. So in turn, it's kind of just it's I tell you this, it's bringing me a lot of purpose these days. It's bringing me a lot of happiness these days. It's bringing me a lot of like my ambition and the things that fuel me to be the best version of myself. I can feel are reciprocating because of this podcast. Someone's at my doorbell. The beauty of working from home, Cam.
And I often work at home. I like it. You want to go get it? You want to bring the laptop with you and we'll all say hi or what?
I don't know. I don't know, man.
Peek out the window. Well, the people listening want to know. Well, people watching on YouTube.
The people want to know who it is, man. This is the beauty of like recording live.
Oh, that's fine. Go tell us who's that.
I'm gonna peek out this window.
It's okay. Don't fall out the window now, Kevin, as you look.
Can you give me 10 seconds?
Man, take 10 seconds. Right. You know what? While you do that, I'm going to give you the proper introduction so people know where to follow you and what you're doing. So,
ADC, I'll be right back.
Yeah, you do your thing. Kevin, former president of ADC Paving. He's done everything, man. Like he's still in Kentucky. I don't know if you could tell by the accent. Still in Kentucky. He's been involved with board of directors for the Building Industry Association. County Council Chairman. Most recently, right, top Contractor School. He's very involved with Brian Hess, which was going to be my next question for him as soon as he answers his doorbell. But he's just involved in his community too. Habitat for Humanity, Helmets for Hardhats, Veterans Club. Like this dude just helps people, man. And I like, paving especially, people listening to this podcast, as you know, are stripers, but paving is a very blue collar industry. And Kevin fosters, people developing their pride and purpose and integrity in that industry, which I think is super cool. So great success. Who's at your door? Share with the people.
It was a guy working on a fireplace. He'd been coming and going through the back door, and I just, out of habit, when I got home this afternoon, locked that back door, and he's like, "Hey, dumbass, back door's locked." I'm like, yeah, be open all day. Come on over.
Yeah.
So
I love working at home. Don't worry about it. I love working at home. All right.
I love that.
Question. I have a couple more.
You talk about being authentic and transparent. There you go.
That's it.
Right. That's life, right?
Yeah. I love it. It's made me think of a funny story, but I want to talk about you, not my crap. So
I want to hear your funny story.
No.
Oh man. Next time.
Involves kids and dogs and trying to record stuff.
I love it.
Tell me about Brian Hess. You and him, seems like you guys go way back. I respect and admire him tremendously. What's the deal there? How does this relationship get started? What do you appreciate about him? Why do you do what you do with Brian and his programs?
Man, I can't say enough about our relationship. And just so you know, like till I started this position a couple months back with TCS, like I didn't know what my next move was going to be. I started another little paving business kind of on the side, just kind of pay the bill, whatever, keep my house, pay the bills, earn a living, survive basically, because that's what I knew how to do. And he called me out of the blue, man. Like we hadn't talked about this position. Now we had talked about the TCS. I've been involved with TCS for almost 5 years. I was actually member number 1, numero uno. So we had known, like, if we ever want to get super serious about TCS, and by the way, the success that TCS has had, led by a guy or two that basically have their own businesses as well and kind of doing this on a very part-time basis, is one of the best coaching mentorship platforms I've ever seen or been involved with. Like, Amen. It's incredible what they've accomplished in just a handful of years. But I met Brian at NPE 5 years ago. I think it was the year it was in Cleveland. Cleveland or it had to be Nashville because it's been in Nashville 1,700 times. But he did a class on how to get involved or gain connections, contracts with national paving contractors. And I was just I was at that point 5 years ago to where getting involved with these national contractors was really making sense to me with my own personal business. But man, there was just something that captivated me about the way he presented, about the way he spoke, about the way he carried himself, about the way he led that conversation. And I was like, I'm going to go shake this guy's hand when I'm done and just say, hey, man, good to meet you. Thanks for a super, because I mean, at this point, I'd been to NPE 7-8 times and sat through 50 of these. And like, there weren't very many that got me that fired up. So like, I need to go talk to this person. Like, and he just did. And man, it all was kind of born right there, because the very next week we started chatting on the phone a couple times a week. I mean, we're like, man, we have similar ideas, we have similar vision, we have similar values, we have similar goals, we have similar dreams. And it just, a friendship was born. I don't know how to describe it other than that. There was just kind of a mutual connection. You got those people that come across your path in this life that you're like, holy cow, what just happened there? This is special. This is special connection. And man, that's how it happened. And I believed in him. He believed in me. Our visions and values aligned. It took me a little convincing, because I'm like most people that have some interest in joining TCS. Like, man, I don't know if I can afford that. I really want to. What he got me was I signed my sales guy up, Josh, for the sales mentorship program, which is one of the courses that are included. And it took me a little bit to commit to that, but Brian was like, look, man, it's money back guarantee. I'm gonna show you that I'm the real deal. And I believed it. Like I knew. But we signed up for that, man, and the rest was history. I mean, it wasn't much longer than that he and I were down in Anguilla filming the operations mentorship program down in Judd's studio. Like, we both kind of just flew on our own dime and and filmed that thing, which is now available as a resource for all the TCS members. And I tell you what, that's why I wear this watch. We made enough money, huh?
Tell me about the watch. What do we got?
It's a Tag Heuer Aqua Racer. It cost me about $3,000. And this is about, we all flew on our own dime, shot the video, got paid for a little bit. I got paid about $3,000 for the deal. And that's the only dollars I had ever taken out of TCS, prior to coming on as the executive director. But like, I will never get rid of this watch, because it's a reminder of the commitment we both had to go down there and do that. Like, and we didn't go down there to get rich. We went down there, and we haven't gotten rich off of it, by the way. We went down there because we believed in it. We believed we could have an impact. We believed we could change people's lives. We believed we could be of value, be of service, be of mentorship to so many in the industry that were going through some of the same things I was going through, some of the growing pains, I was just fortunate enough to have some really good mentors that I got connected with early on in my career that basically expedited my learning curve. Like, some of the things you saw happen with ADC Paving, that wasn't just my genius. That was me being willing to tap into a community, being willing to learn and listen to others that had done it before me, who had gotten really good at it. There's no real magic to any of this. It's just being willing to be coachable, being willing to learn, being willing to get outside of your comfort zone a little bit. And I tell you one thing I figured out that really, I think, started separating us apart, separating us from others. And Keith Calloway Jr. does it about better than anybody I've ever witnessed. Some of the things he does now, I'm going to take some damn credit here. He came and learned from my ass before he got before he got 10 times more successful than I ever got in the paving business. But some of those tricks he picked up for me. But it's just figuring out how to cheat logistics a little bit, how to get a little more efficient, a little, just these little, little things we picked up, and I learned from mentors and tried, and some of them worked, some of them didn't work. But man, you start dialing some of that stuff in, you can really start squeezing some margin out of places you didn't know existed. And then you talk about having some extra resources to reinvest back in your companies, and just how quickly things can happen, and how much better you can get, and how much more you can feed into your people. I mean, there was a time when I didn't think I could afford to go to MPE, just my spouse and I. And I remember 3 years ago, we took 20 some odd people. We took the whole team. And it was like, holy cow, this is incredible. Some of those guys never been on a trip like that before and stayed in that kind of hotel. And you know what I mean? Like, this was a big deal. On, let alone the educational stuff they got that week, and being able to be around that equipment and be around some of my network and go to some of those events. And it was like, man, this is where it's at. This is where it's at. So, none of anything, especially the last 5 years of my career, would have happened without that connection with Brian Hess. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Well, man.
And I'll tell you, when he reached out and made this phone call and asked how I would feel about taking this position, in that moment, man, and I think he even said it on that phone call, but I understood. He's like, this is going to save my life. Like, literally, this opportunity is going to save my life, because it's probably the only thing, or one of the only things that serves me enough to where I can give back in the capacity that I want to be able to give back. That's going to make me feel full. It's going to make me feel purposeful. It's going to make me feel useful, which is what I feed off of. Perfect platform. Is like, everything that has led up to this moment has happened for a reason. No matter how good, no matter how bad, every little piece of the pathway that led us to right here, right now, happened for a reason. You'll never convince me otherwise.
Yeah, man. Give me the 2-minute version. What's next for Kevin Gray? Where, besides TCS growing and taking over the world, what's next for Kevin?
Man, I don't know. I'm just, you know what? I don't have any grand plan. I'm kind of for the first time in my life letting go of the steering wheel, letting go of the captain's wheel of the ship. Because I'm figuring out, as much as I thought I was in control of that ship, I like to use the reference. You got two ants riding, sitting on a log, floating down a creek, and the whole time they think they're steering that damn log. And right,
we're just along for the ride, eh?
Just along for the ride. And I don't mean like I'm just taking this lackadaisical approach to life. Like, it's not that at all. But I'm doing what feels good to me. I'm trying to be very intentional with being useful to the next man, and I'm just kind of seeing where this log goes, man. That's it. I've and that's the beauty of this. I mean, look, not many people get an opportunity like I've gotten, a second chance, at least on life. There's a part of me, not a part of me, there's a lot of me that's just grateful to even still be here, because I did some things, 7, 8, 9 months ago that a lot of people don't actually make it through alive, honestly. Mm-hmm. And I've got that perspective now. And had some things happen in some of those moments leading up to kind of the rock bottom, if you will, that most people don't get the opportunity to experience. They weren't very good experiences. I mean, I wouldn't wish them on many people, but they will change a man. They will change a person. They will make you live with a different perspective. And I wouldn't trade any of that for the world either.
No,
like
that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity to help more people, right?
Dude, I mean, yeah, like
that's why I love you, buddy. That's it. Because it'd be so easy to just pack it in, but you don't do it.
It would be easy to pack. It would be easy to pack it in. It would be easy to be mad at the world. It'd be easy to be blaming other people for my action. You know, well, I did that because you did this, or I was upset because my life looked like this. No. And yeah, leading up to some of that, did I have that attitude chip on my shoulder? Absolutely, I did. It's part of the reason I was doing what I was doing. But having the opportunity to learn why that's not the right perspective, why that's not the right outlook, while those certainly aren't the right actions for me to be exuding, you can't trade those life lessons, man. And I tell you what, nothing great ever happens. Nothing great is ever born without some failure, without some setbacks, without some adversity. Like nothing great has ever just come from nothing. You know, there's got to be some struggle involved. And I'm grateful for all of it, man.
I'm grateful you came on. I mean, there's probably a lot more we could jam into, but you know what? You want to hear more about it, go listen to the Rock Bottom podcast. That's what I think. That's my suggestion. Absolutely. Besides there, where else can people find you? What else are you doing?
Dude, I got the Rock Bottom podcast. That's weekdays. We're live on Facebook, we're live on LinkedIn, and we're live on YouTube every morning at 8:30. I appreciate the feedback I've gotten in the last 7 days just from doing that. It's bringing people back into my life that I haven't talked to or been associated with for 25 years. And it's like, my God. So I'm doing that every morning at 8:30. I'm serving TCS to the best of my ability. We are getting ready to springboard into some more action with evolving that membership. And look, I mean, evolving the membership, growing the membership, and that's why I align with Brian too, because it's never about the money. It's never about the money. It's about acquiring the resources necessary to have a major impact on people's lives. Like, unfortunately, doing the things that we have as visionaries for this group takes resources. It takes money to be able to give it back. So that's the motivating factor. It's not, oh, let's sell more memberships so I can make, a little more money. It's, let's sell more memberships so we can really make this thing special the way we've always dreamt it to be for a long time. I remember when Brian, probably within the first 2 months I had met him, we were sitting somewhere and he whipped out this bar napkin that had the whole, basically the business plan at that time of what Top Contractor School was and what it was going to be. And it is amazing that it's becoming exactly that. Like on this bar napkin, no bigger than this, written out in pen, just, TCS in the middle, few little legs off of it with other kind of funnels and pieces of it. And it's coming to fruition. And I couldn't think of anything else I would rather be a part of. And it's because of the people, and it's because of Brian Hess. I could go do a million things. There's a million things I could go do. There's all kinds of jobs out there. There's all kinds of things I could go just start on my own because I've done it before. But it's not. There's nothing else I would rather be a part of than Top Contractor School.
That's awesome, man. Well, I look forward to seeing you in January. That's going to be amazing.
Dude. Yeah.
Very excited for that. Well, thank you for your time today. I appreciate it. We'll put all the notes in the show where people can find you and talk to you and get to know you a little better. And thanks for everything you do, man. It's much.
Thank you, brother.
All right. Yeah. We'll talk to you very soon.